everybody. Welcome to the Double Stuff Podcast. We are double the hosts, double the topics, and double the fun. I'm Sarah.
I'm Charity.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Alan.
And guys, this is our 1 year anniversary season.
Yay! Go us. We
Yeah.
did a thing.
We actually did something successful. No, this is really great, and me personally, I'm super excited about this. We've gone through a lot of challenges and stuff together, and we've overcome a lot of them, and here we are, so many weeks later. So this is what we're going to do
Months.
for
Year.
months. Well, yeah, but we're entering our 12th month, which
Okay.
equals 1 year.
Gotcha.
I think that's how time works.
Okay.
Is math messing us up here?
I know.
Oh boy.
We're too far gone now to try to make any kind of changes. So here's what we're going to do. If we have any new listeners, welcome. For all of you veterans that have listened to us from day one, welcome as well.
Yeah, thank you for sticking with us,
Yeah,
by the
no
way,
kidding.
through
Yeah.
our awkward teenage years.
It's been a long year, guys, for the very
We went
obvious
through
reasons.
acne, and
That's true. Is podcasting years like dog years? Like
I
for
don't
every
know. I
1
feel
year?
like it's
Yeah,
been 7 years,
It
to be
does,
honest.
yeah.
Like, for real.
definitely.
So I figure for this episode, we're going to revisit the same topics that we did for season 1. We kind of want to see if we've improved at all, if any.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Or it'll just be a deja vu. It'll be the same exact dynamic that we had
You
from the
guys
first
still
part.
stink.
So if you guys listened earlier, our first episode was appropriately titled, and you'll see why, I Don't Trust People Without Sideburns. Now, we talked about this a year ago today, and it went a little something like this. It is April 1st, guys. Like,
Yay.
what better way to launch a podcast than on the day where everybody acts completely foolish? So why do we have the audacity to come together and create a podcast?
Well, this was something that we've all, I think, wanted to do. I mean, we're all related with production.
Well, it started out, I
Yeah.
was dropping some keys off to you.
That's right.
And then we had this weird random conversation. And then by the end of it, Alan was like, and that's why I don't trust people with sideburns.
Without sideburns.
Without sideburns.
Without
Yeah.
sideburns. I'm always suspicious about men who shave their beard and sideburns up to their ear line.
Yeah, just
keep
all the
going.
way
So
up
you
until-
shave your head? You
Yeah,
mean?
like-
Or
No. I'm just saying, like, I mean.
You start the chin and keep going
yeah.
until you're bald?
And I get it. I mean, I have a weird.
Just a line right around the head.
It's the reverse Amish.
Just a halo. Yeah.
So anyway, we were talking about that, and then we had thought, let's that might
Yeah,
be something for a
after that
podcast.
stimulating conversation of
so
facial
because
hair.
you guys couldn't leave well enough alone, oh look, a podcast was born.
Oh my gosh. Do I really sound like that?
Yes, you do.
You always sound different to yourself when you hear a recording.
That's
It's
true.
so true.
Oh, yeah. It's like looking at yourself in a photograph that you knew. I mean, you had your hair right, you had the right clothes, everything was right, and then you somehow wandered into bad lighting, and you somehow wandered into like a windstorm, and you saw the photograph, and you're like,
And it's always a
"Oh,
candid shot, and someone's like, let me
Yeah.
tag you in this because I know you definitely want to
Yeah.
see this.
Did you have to hit the shutter when I had my mouth full of cake?"
What you got, Dan?
I once heard there was a reason for that, like a scientific reason for that. I guess at one point somebody, or I read or something, that there's a little flap in your ear, and when you talk, that flap closes to cover the canal, and then opens
Ooh.
back up again when you're not talking, which is why you sound different in your head than you do when you're listening on a recording.
Ear flaps. Who knew?
Who knew?
I must have
Science.
like 2 or 3 of those.
I got ear
I got
flaps
some
McGee
extra
over
flaps.
here.
if we're really quiet here,
What is a snake? What is?
that's the sound of Alan's ear flaps, apparently.
It don't sound like that.
Oh gosh, that was a very goose honk laugh I just did. Oh, can we edit that out? Or
It was your ear flaps. Use your ear flaps on that one.
I will say, even prior to the podcast, maybe a year prior, I have learned to accept the sound of my voice.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Well,
I know
you should. That's the only one you got.
it is the only one I've got. But I used to not like how I sounded, because I thought my voice was too deep for a woman's voice. I didn't think it sounded very feminine. But now, after hearing other women who has those high pitched helium voices, and I'm like, I like it. It
Yeah.
doesn't. It's
It's
it'll
Sarah.
work. It's very Sarah. I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult.
Well, when I first started doing voiceovers, I always sounded like I had a cold. Like every
Uh-huh.
time I went back and listened to, I'm like, I didn't have a stuffy nose that day, but I always sounded like this. Like it was so
Yeah.
weird, so weird.
Yeah.
Well, what about you, Dan? Have you kind of always liked the sound of your
I
voice?
hate it. I hate it, and I hate it even like listening back to edit and stuff. It just drives me crazy. You just have to close your eyes and get past it.
Yep.
I will say I like the fact I was partially concerned when we first started the podcast, especially for me and Charity, because sometimes we do sound very similar. And so I was kind of concerned when we first started. It's like, well, no one's going to be able to tell us apart. They already can't always tell us apart physically. So I was like, they're definitely not going to know the difference. But I think it's just enough that they can tell who's
Well,
who.
at the gym the other day, I told you this. There was some lady behind me, and I had my headphones on, so I couldn't hear. But she was like, "Sarah, Sarah, Sarah, Sarah." You know, and some lady was like, "Some lady's calling your name." And I turn around, and she's like, "Oh, I thought you were Sarah. I know someone named Sarah that looks just like you." I was like, "Sarah Harmon." She's like, "Yeah, do you know her?" I'm like, "That's my sister."
Yeah. Well, there you go.
So she probably just thought, "Why is Sarah being so rude today?"
Yeah. It happens.
It happens, but I think somewhat ish circling around. So again, we talked about, which was aptly our title. For those of you who don't know, a lot of times we derived a title based off of the conversation in the show, which is great. I thought this title was ridiculous, and it was a great way to start off the series because it made absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
So I wanted to.
It does make sense though.
Well, it does for you.
It's a creed.
A creed. Wow, this is getting real serious right now.
This is what we do before we start recording. We all put our hands together. We're like,
That's right.
all right, I don't trust people without sideburns. I don't
Right.
trust people without sideburns.
That's right.
But I wanted to
And then
ask
you go
you,
about your business.
do you still feel the same way after a year?
I still don't trust people without sideburns.
You know, it I don't know. Here's okay. So when I think up things like that, and I think that it's funny how our brains and all of us here, our producers and being creative, every once in a while a thought creeps in, and it just, for some reason, you're like, you giggle to yourself and you're like, that's a good one right there. I like that one right there. But yeah, it seems, I don't know, at a time when when we had that conversation and we were talking about it, it just, everywhere that you look now, it's very in vogue, I guess, as far as fashion goes, men's facial hair to have extreme sideburns, you know, to beards and whatever. I mean,
Mutton
facial
chops. I'm all
well,
for mutton
facial,
chops.
yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like, facial hair is widely accepted, and so for someone to just say, you know what, not gonna do it, you're suspect in my eyes.
So you haven't changed your ways. You still
No.
feel the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
Same
ear
way.
flaps, you know. If you don't have sideburns, how can
No
you really
sideburns, no
can't
ear
trust it.
flaps.
Yep,
I have no
that's
trust
right.
in this person.
That's right.
So, guys, if you want to hear the full episode, it is season 1, episode 1. You can listen to that if you just go to doublestuffpod.com, scroll all the way to the bottom of the website, and you'll be able to find our episode. If you want to listen to our most recent episodes, we're available on all the different podcast platforms. And then our previous seasons, like I said before, is available on our Double Stuff Pod website. So one of the things that we did when we first started the podcast, even before we were recording, on our social media, we were talking about, you know, one of those get to know you kind of questions, which I think those are a lot of fun. And so I went on a random question generator.
Ooh.
So I thought, because, you know, versus like, who are you? What's your favorite color? I was like, no, let's do something a little more.
Let's get crazy.
Let's do something crazy. So I went
Okay.
on a random question generator, and I thought we asked us a few questions. So I'll start with Dan. So question for you, Dan. What is something in your fridge right now that should probably be thrown out?
Oh, that's actually easy. I had a while back when we first moved here, we got some takeout and it came with a Thai chili sauce, and I
Oh,
didn't use
yeah.
all of it. And it's not always the easiest thing to find. So I kept it from like a month ago. So it probably should be thrown out.
That's a
Does
good
it
one.
smell though? That's the
Yeah.
question. Is there different colors or things growing in it?
Well, it's Thai chili sauce, so it always smells. Now, does it smell like what it's supposed to smell like? I haven't opened it for a minute. I don't know.
Are you scared to open it to
A
see
little
what you'll
bit,
find?
yeah.
If you open the fridge and you see tentacles coming out of the container.
Just get a new fridge. Just throw the fridge away. Go get a new one.
That's
But
right.
see, what I'm hoping is that it's become more powerful than I could possibly imagine.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's even spicier.
Yep, but see that's how mutants happen, right?
He's
It's
creating his own like film series about sauces.
Yeah. He's creating his own mutagen.
Yeah, mutagen, is that a word?
Yeah, from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh,
The
okay.
ooze.
Oh, see,
Secret of the
I think I've just
Ooze.
called it just ooze versus. But it shows how much I grew up with that show. Guys, you're showing, we're proving things that I didn't look
If
at.
Dan turns into like half man, half cat, or something like that,
He does that
we'll-
anyway. He's got
we'll,
two of them.
We'll know that he's had the Thai
He's
chili
been
sauce and it
sneaking the
worked.
sauce.
And if I get to learn karate as a byproduct of that, I'm all for
That's
it.
right.
Or half cat. He starts scratching his ear with his foot. That'll be
That's
that'll
a
be.
dog. Do cats do that?
Of course
No, they
they do.
totally do that. Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. I've had
Remember,
a cat
ask
in a long
Dan.
time.
He's the half cat, right?
That's right.
He does it all the time. All right. Well, that was a nice icebreaker kind of question.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Alan. I'm going to
Uh-oh.
go with you.
In the hot seat, Alan.
Hey, I'm open book. I'm honest. I'll shoot it straight.
I feel like this is actually honestly this is a question that could work for Charity too, so I might ask you this as well. But I'll start
Okay.
with
I don't
Alan.
want a reused question.
Yeah,
No
this will give her
secondhand
time
question.
to think about
You're
it.
gonna give me a hand me down?
That's right.
What's okay for you, Alan?
Okay.
What's something that really happened to you, but no one would believe it unless they were there?
All right. So when we bought this house that we live in currently, the sellers did a very nice thing. They repiped the sewer from the house all the way to the main. Now, when we put in our offer on the house, it had not been done, so the backyard was fantastic. When we moved in, there was this giant hill in the back of the house that wasn't there. That was just dirt from where they had moved the earth back in. They had to go down like 12 feet to get to the
Wow.
sewer pipe.
Gosh.
Yeah. And there was a lot of problems around it. But one of the biggest problems was it created like a chute for whenever Kansas spring rains come. It would just pour in water, and it was just a muddy mess. Not only that, but I also had to figure out that the company that did it broke the sump pump line and just stuck the sump pump basically at the edge of where the hill was. And so whenever the water got cycled through the sump pump, it just shot into mud and then filtered back down. It would the pump was running every 10 to 15 minutes.
Gosh.
And so there's just this giant mud pool. So I got in my knee-high rubber boots from
Oh,
Home
no.
Depot trying to figure out what in the world's going on. Now this had been happening for a while, and it was almost like quicksand mud.
Oh,
So
gosh.
my wife, the mud, I had gotten into the mud and I started to sink. Not only was I sinking, I couldn't pull my feet out of the mud.
It was that deep?
I was stuck, and I was yelling at my wife, babe, honey.
Save me.
And she came out with her phone, started laughing and recording me, and I'm like, I'm stuck.
Wait,
I
there's a
can't
video of this
move.
that
I
we
think
haven't
so.
seen?
Oh,
I think so.
Okay.
I had my ear flaps closed that day, so I'm not sure.
We'll have to ask Mac about this because I would love to. Well,
But
okay.
the only way that I could get out was to just take my feet out of the boots, leave the boots in the mud, and then roll in the mud out of the mud hole so that I wouldn't sink.
Oh my god.
And I was covered in mud. She was covered in tears from laughter. And I was like, what in the world? She's like, what did you want me to do? And I said, I don't know, but help. I don't know what it would be.
Throw me a rope, something.
Yeah.
The
So
adventures of being a homeowner.
yeah, so I got stuck, and
Ugh.
the only way out was to lose my rubber boots in the mud. Eventually, I got them back though.
I was gonna say, and
Say-
to
I was
this
gonna say, yeah,
day,
to this day, those boots are still stuck in the quicksand
Yeah,
mud.
that would have made a better story.
that's the part where at the very end you zoom in on the quicksand, even though the mud is there, a hand jumps out.
That's right. That's right.
Those boots got hands.
Dan's
sticking out of
mutant
it.
hand from his Thai sauce.
That's right.
Oh my gosh, we're already creating
Get
like
back,
this.
Dan.
Connecting our stories.
Get back, Dan.
We're making like this B movie here. I love it. Actually, I'll go ahead and ask Charity, what is something you find mildly annoying, but not annoying enough to do anything about it?
Don't get angry.
It's,
Don't,
it's,
don't
it's the
let it
fact that,
dredge up all the anger.
it's the fact that Cherry doesn't find anything mildly annoying. It's all majorly annoying.
Well, funny enough, you should say that. That's correct. But something did come to mind. Okay, so microwaves.
Oh,
I like to see the clock on the microwave. I like to see the time. My family likes to, take their stuff out of the microwave early because they don't like to hear the beep. So when they do that, they don't press clear.
yeah.
And so there's always like 30 seconds or 10 seconds or sometimes one, which my dad does this on purpose.
Yes,
He'll
he
leave
does.
1 second up just to annoy me so I can come back and find it.
I would totally do that
So
with
the
my
thing,
girls
I
too.
find that mildly annoying because on my list of things I find annoying, it's very low on the list. But the reason why I find it annoying is because there have been moments where someone leaves like 1 minute on the clock. Well, 1 minute also looks like 1 o'clock. So I'm running
Yeah.
around freaking out thinking I'm late for work or a meeting or something. And I'm like, wait a minute. It should only be, 11 o'clock or something. I thought I had a couple hours. I'm like, someone didn't press clear. So I go press clear and I'm like, it's 11:05.
See, for me, I like to conserve the time. Like, oh, there's a
It
minute
doesn't
left.
exist on a microwave. Sarah likes to save the time as if she can't type in 30 seconds herself or whatever.
Because I'm
She's
like, it's
you might-
already there. It's already
You might as
there.
well conserve your minutes. This isn't an old-fashioned cell phone plan. Just type in your time you
She's
want in the
thinking
microwave.
control room production. I'm gonna back time this.
Maybe that's what it is. It's one of those occupational hazards
Yeah.
that I've encountered.
But it is funny that we have a clock that might not necessarily be a clock in our house that's kind of our go-to.
Mhm.
So I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Microwave and stove clock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Charity, for listing at least one of 800 different grievances.
I mean, however long this podcast goes, somebody is going to know my full list of annoyances. We'll get to them eventually.
Yeah. Okay, I saved this question for myself because I moderate it and I can do it on my own.
Okay.
Even though, funny enough, I didn't fully plan the question, but I thought I liked the sound of it. So,
Okay.
question for Sarah. Hello, Sarah.
You want
Hi,
me to
Sarah.
ask here? Let me ask.
Yes, ask it. It's
Okay.
this one right here. If you can
Okay.
read that.
All right. How would you describe your sense of humor? Give an example.
Oh, thank you, Alan, for giving me such a
Wow,
question.
you gave yourself
you're-
the easiest, most generic.
You know what?
Actually-
You're right. Here, let me ask you a generated question.
Okay, go
generated
for it.
from behind my ear flaps.
We'll answer the humor one at a later date.
All right. Sarah,
Okay.
tell us, what is your best memory from Halloween, from a childhood Halloween experience?
My best memory from Halloween.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I weirdly talked about one of them in season 4.
No. What's something new?
Something new. Our family really didn't celebrate Halloween much, but I guess one that I kind of remember is a boring boring story, but I wanted to dress up like a hippie one year.
Yes.
And I didn't have, it's not like I went to the store and bought me the ultimate hippie outfit. But this particular Halloween, they were actually taking pictures. Like, they had a backdrop
Uh-huh.
and everything. And they
Was
had
this
like
in Indiana?
this was in Indiana. Yeah.
I vaguely remember this, but not too much. Anyway, continue.
So I really wanted to dress up as a hippie. I didn't really have the right clothes, but my dad had an orange purple shirt with a white stripe in the middle.
Nice.
Oh, okay. I remember now.
And I think I wore like an orange headband. I wore it around my head, which is where headbands go. I think I went to the dollar store. I found some like almost like John
Those
Lennon
John Lennon
looking
glasses.
glasses.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And I don't remember what pair of pants I wore, but that was the closest to dressing up as a hippie that I liked. And like I said, that particular Halloween actually had people taking professional pictures of us.
Nice.
And so somewhere in a photo album in the deep dark
In the
depths
dusty
of
old
something,
Christmas box smell.
something, yes, there is a picture of me trying to be in my most precious hippie, doing a little peace sign and all that kind of stuff.
That's
So
lovely.
But
Yeah.
the funny part about this story is that after Halloween, she still wore the shirt as regular attire.
Nice.
yes,
So-
yes,
It
every once in
became
a while
regular shirt.
every once in a while I still do. It still fits me after
I remember
all
doing
these
that.
I
years.
forgot you still have the shirt.
I still have the shirt. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's because not only did it make a great costume, it's just a very comfortable shirt.
There you
and my
go.
dad never saw his shirt again.
He never wore it. My dad doesn't wear purple. Why he had that shirt? I think somebody gifted it to him, and my dad usually doesn't.
Oh,
He-
he probably wore it once or twice.
He wore it once. That way, I knew I took it out of the drawer. That it was his. But so it's probably been about 14, 15 years, and I still
Aw.
got that shirt.
I think that's lovely.
Well, thank you.
Only
I-
because my girls, I remember them growing up, were always wanting my old T-shirts to wear for nightgowns.
Oh yeah,
I think all little girls do that.
Yeah.
with
we used to
dad's
do that.
clothes.
We still kind of do sometimes, giving out some personal information
Wait,
on
it
the
doesn't look like
podcast.
a nightgown anymore, though.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't.
Don't go out and get the newspaper, Sarah.
You're gonna get a rude awakening, guys.
It used to feel like a nightgown, I swear.
All right. Now, I do have one last question for everybody. I actually got this from Podcast Movement. So it's not generated, but they put this on their Twitter, posted this a few weeks ago.
Mhm.
Based on our podcast, if we had the chance to go back to the beginning, would we change the podcast or leave it as is?
Oh,
So whoever wants to take that question real quick.
I
What do
think
you
leave
think?
it as is. I don't know what we change it to. I mean, I'm happy without it. I don't sit here like pining, thinking, "Oh, what could we have done differently?" No, I think it works out well.
yeah, I agree, and I think that one of the things, at least for me, is that it brings me a lot of joy. We've never made this something that we had to work hard to make happen. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had struggles. We've had, every podcast, every producer has, mishaps, but I've never not wanted to come to do a recording, and I've never kind of did a groan in we got this is, I don't feel like it today. I've never not felt like doing a recording, so I think that we're on the right path.
Yeah, I personally couldn't think of that either when I saw that question, and I still can't think of it now. I think we have a great dynamic.
Mhm.
I think we've improved, at least in the way that we interact with each other.
Sure.
I will say listening to our first episodes is not as cringeworthy as what I thought after a year.
Yeah.
I hear how we've improved, but it hasn't drastically changed, which I kind of like.
Yeah.
So I think we're doing pretty good, and long live Double Stuffed. I think we'll do that.
I would change some of the mechanical issues we've had over the course of the time, but
Oh
that's
yeah,
that's not like a podcast change, but
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
maybe when someone decided to move to Florida and leave us high and dry.
we're not naming any
I'm not
names.
still bitter, Dan, but
No.
I'm just saying.
I'd probably change that too.
Yeah, but I don't know. You guys are the best. I love you guys.
Aw.
I think we've also gotten closer. I think in a year's time.
It's funny because we all worked together in the same building, but
Yeah.
the podcast made us like better friends, I guess, even though we
Sure.
were around each other all the time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So on that sappy note,
Yeah.
Oh, hey, let's bring on the sap.
Yeah. Now I feel like, I could lend you $5.
Oh, okay.
$5.
Maybe $7.
It took us a year for him to lend $5.
and that includes tax.
That's right.
Plus
And interest.
Yeah,
Plus
interest. Don't
interest.
forget that interest.
So
You're only 90 days past due.
that's true.
Once it hits 120.
Uh-oh.
You're gonna hear Alan just banging on the door. Pay me up.
That stimulus hasn't come yet. He's waiting for that interest.
So, guys, thank you for listening to our first episode and our first revisiting episode of season 6. Again, if you want to listen to more of our previous seasons, just go to doublestuffpod.com. They are all on there. Have fun listening. You can also check us out on different social media sites. We're available on Facebook and Instagram at Double Stuff Podcast, and then on Twitter at Double Stuff P, and that's the letter P.